It's like, I think it's like not even 8 weeks. It's about 8 weeks since the supposed rupture. So, you know, it took Ben 2 years, he said. You know, so I think I just need to like tie a hoe a little bit, be patient. All right, what's on the menu, Lucky?
Well, a couple things. I'll just get my notes up. I guess, well, the first point that comes up was this idea of, you know, let me get my notes up here. Well, first of all, I'm really loving where the group chat's happening at the moment. I think that's really cool. I think we're more interactive on it. Ethan sent me some really cool ideas that I'm going to make adjustments this week, where you can send thumbs up and stuff when you've seen the conversation and stuff like that. So it doesn't look like because sometimes you read it and you're like, oh yeah, and that's it, and like there's no need. Sometimes there's no need to respond to it, but even the simple like thumbs up and stuff, you'll be able to recognize just those small little things. And I think that was a really good idea, Ethan. So thanks for sending that. The second point, do we change this name? We briefly just touched it over to ATG for martial artists. That's probably the first point, because I'm in two minds. Well, first mind is the group chat is martial artists or MMA, ATG for MMA, whatever you want to call it. But if we go on the call, it's generally people who train jiu-jitsu. So kind of, I don't know, I'm not too sure about that, but I guess we'll just start off that. What do you guys think? You know, I see there's definitely a bigger market, of course, doing ATG for martial artists. Well, maybe the group chat could be named that. I'm not too sure. What do you guys think with that? We should leave it as it is.
One thing I would like to avoid, and we've touched on before, is getting into the anxiety-causing pulsive ATG scenario. So
it's true.
So I think there is a case for the establishment of an ATG for stand-up combat athletes, potentially, you know, and then there could be another group, which is ATG for MMA athletes. But grappling as in terms of wrestling, BJJ, judo, sambo, etc. It's quite a specialist domain in and of itself. And then like boxing, like, you know, and then you think about like stand-up combat athletes like boxing and kickboxing. Well, that's like different demands again. Like they just ain't going to the ground, so they can have that. And then there could be the third that people choose to go into if they're interested in the hybrid. It's the hybrid combat athlete group, you know. In terms of the three that come to mind for me, that's my comment.
I love that.
I'm still listening. I just gotta go grab my charger.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Yeah. So I could see what he's saying for sure. I feel like that ATG for martial artists, or just adding the MMA group in general, I don't think it would be that many more guys myself. Maybe it would, and maybe I'm off base. I don't know, but I don't think it would end up being like the Pulse, you know, like overwhelming in that way. But I totally get what he's saying. It's just hard for me to judge if it would be too many people in that way. But I think there's some crossover, and I think helping as many people as we could would be the best way to go about it. But I also share his sentiments. I definitely do not want it to turn into the Pulse. because I have not looked at it at all until today, and I'm not going to end up going back and reading the 2,000 messages that I haven't read. Like I can't keep up with it, man.
Yeah, I like that. What do you think, Ethan? I have to do.
I think I think just because this stuff's only going to get bigger, it's probably easier to keep it separate. I mean, if you look at it, we've got like 46 members in the Telegram group, and only 5-10 of them are pretty active. So that could be just because I think we just are ideally we want people that are committed to grappling and committed to the ATG stuff and want to have conversations about it. So
I guess,
and that's why. Go ahead.
No, after you, bro. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say that what you guys are saying, the anxiety with the pulsing, that's also why I like the idea of adding a reaction button, because hopefully that won't contribute to the unread message count. And that way, you can still be active within the chat without feeling like you're blowing up everyone's phone. Because you know what I mean?
It's really true.
Right off the bat, speaking out loud, someone who would benefit from the establishment of a ATG for boxers is Torben. That zero ability program that like I've had a look at it. I'm going to apply it today. It's great content. It's boxing specific. It's it's a lot of hand drills. It's that shoulder kinetic chain. So and that content is still applicable to the BJJ athletes. But I mean, that's leading stuff. I'm looking forward to his ATG Summit talk today. So I mean, that's someone that I think would benefit from the establishment of an ATG for boxers group. Maybe that's someone we or we could reach out to or talk to and see is that something he wants to champion. Because that's what he's already doing. And just because there's the establishment of another group doesn't mean we or you individuals can't choose to participate in that group, but like I think like Nick, perfect example, someone that's got he's focusing on the worlds right now, and that's like, and so like if one of our additional objectives is like whatever we can do to help you perform, that's like one of the outcomes here for me. Like how can these conversations add value? I know you touched on it on the call last week, like your confidence and like you're standing on your feet and just talking and sharing, so like that's massive, and that can only transfer onto the mat. Like you guys had an awesome chat about better humans, better athletes in that whole realm. So and I love, and touching on what you said before, I love the love whatever addition, because that drives connection, right? It's about acknowledgement of existence, like just acknowledging that person's contribution, and the purpose of this should be connection, connection and like going together. So
absolutely, I agree with everything that you said.
Yeah, I love that. I think just touching on that, I think it's more important than ever right now to have these forums while the craziness is happening. I think having that connection. Actually, I kind of like that quote: "Better humans, better athletes." Right? That's so true. And this mentality that yes, like we're developing training systems, and like we're basically, I guess one of the main outcomes is to create a product or service, right, out of this. But with the product and service comes with this culture of, hey, like this is a way of living as well. And I think something that I'm going to be working on over the next couple of weeks is really embodying the ATG lifestyle, or embodying the ATG for grapplers lifestyle. Reading, connecting with people, leaving people better than we found them. And yeah, it's like every time you walk past a person, it's always like you smile at them and all that kind of stuff. And I think it has nothing to do with what we're trying to achieve, but I think having that stigma of what that is, I think that's going to be really powerful, especially in the world right now. It's just a party. It's just a party right now. So yeah, I don't know. How's I guess we can run it off now to how's everyone been going overall with the businesses, the ideas, you know, we can sort of, you know, Nick was mentioning about, you know, creating Pacific guards and fast tracking their positions with mobility standards. So the rubber guard, triangle, and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to finally get back into jiu-jitsu next week, which would be nice. So gyms are finally out here, so that's cool. It's been a couple months, so I think that's going to really, to be honest, that's probably going to change a lot of things for me, and it's probably going to, so probably it will create more incentive to drive more of this, and I'll be able to now create a bit more jiu-jitsu related stuff or grappling related stuff. But yeah, how's everyone been? What can we do to help? Yeah, just give us an update with everything.
Personally, everything for me has been going really well. I've been able to find a good bit of time to work on that rubber guard program, and I'm almost done actually with the blueprint. I just need to make the videos on basically the form coaching, but there's still something to be said for scheduling my time better, for sure, because even though I've been able to get things done, I have not been as efficient as I could be 100%. And I could have had this done already for sure. So I'm still working on that, trying to figure out something to do for that. But other than that, everything's going great. Another problem I've been having lately is I've been messing with my diet, and I've been having lots of sugar cravings and carb cravings, I guess. And I'm figuring out what that is. I think I need to introduce more carbs into my life, because right now I'm eating more kind of animal based. And so I'm fairly low in carbs until I have those cravings, and then I kind of go off the rails sometimes. But yeah, I think I just need to add more complex type carbs. Other than that, everything's good, guys.
Hell yeah. What about
Sweet.
yourself?
I can relate to a lot of that, Nick. I've been doing the same thing. Just after following a lot of the people in the ATG community, I've started to move more towards animal-based diet. I didn't realize like how much processed food I was eating before that. So I've been cooking a lot more and grilling a lot, eating a ton of protein. And at the beginning, I had the same sort of sugar craving issue, and I realized I just needed to eat more of that stuff. And as long as it's not processed food, it's like I feel like I can eat as much as I want. So I've just been trying to stuff my body with vegetables and meat and a few carbs here and there. And yeah, I know it's been huge, super helpful for me.
Yeah, personally for me, it has been helping with, like, I've had this weird rash all my life, and it's kind of on my chest and my stomach, and I get dry skin and stuff like that, and it's gone totally whenever I follow it the right way. And I've done it in the past too. It just kind of got hard, got expensive, but I figured out a way to do it, buying cheaper cuts, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's expensive, and it's been taking up a ton of my time. And it looks like, Devin, you cook quite a bit. You could probably talk about this, but yeah, to really commit to your diet, I think takes a lot of energy and effort. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to also, Nick. I've been doing that and schoolwork, and been busy. So, but it's good. It's fulfilling.
So on the meal prep front, something that I find that allows me to get that protein portion and select of an animal base, but not too expensive, is I slow cook. Like I get beef brisket cuts, pork shoulder bone in, like these cuts, in a relative sense, are quite cheap here. Like dollars wise, say, well, yeah. So like the brisket I've got in the fridge, that is like $16.99, so $17 NZ per kilo, compared to like a piece of steak is like $40. So it's like 50% of the price. And literally, like, man, you just hit Google, you know, it's like, I just ad lib, to be fair. And because my partner can't eat garlic and, well, she doesn't respond well to garlic and onion. We sort of follow something called FODMAP, which is like fermentable. You know, there's a great app from Monash University that explains that. Anyway, so I just use powdered onion, powdered garlic. I might put in some Worcestershire sauce, squirt in some ketchup, get a can of tomatoes, throw that in, and then some beef stock, and then I put that brisket in, and I turn that slow cooker on for 4 hours, 8 hours, depending on what setting I have it at, and then like, man, if I do it in the evening, I wake up in the morning and the house just like the aroma. And if I do it in the morning, you know, like, and then head out to work and come home, it's like good to go, you know. Pull that brisket out, just get the tongs, put it in a bowl, get 2 forks and shred it. And you can freeze that, you know, like half of it, like I have a meal then with some tortillas or whatever, you know, salad. And then the other, like, so I might have 500 grams to consume in the next 2 to 3 days. And then the other half of it, I just freeze, put it in the freezer, and then I pull it out. And, you know, other things I do in line with that is like bake a big cottage pie, you know, and I portion it out, freeze that down. The key to meal prep for me is like, you got to have your Tupperware ready, you know, cook in big portions and have your Tupperware ready and just freeze it. You know, like when I cook, I just double or triple the volume and then freeze or save or whatever. You know, that's what works for me.
Yeah, I love that. I guess touching on that, I don't have the sense of like the slow cooker or anything like that, but I have depending on your time availability, of course. You know, like I'm lucky I can work when I want to, or work from home, so I can cook a little bit more. But I always have my carbs always pre-cooked. I always have bulk amount of rice or bulk amount of quinoa and I always have bulk amount of veggies already steamed or roasted, all that. So the only thing I kind of really cook as I go is the protein source, whether that's chicken or fish or steak. But even then, sometimes I'll even bake a whole bunch of chicken breasts and, you know, just put a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, some chilies, you know, obviously, you know, garlic. What else would I put on it? Tomatoes. Like, yeah, I kind of go pretty crazy on it. And boom, and then I've got like 6 chicken breasts in the fridge. You know, one like a big, like I'm talking big chicken breast too. So, you know, one big chicken breast is what, probably about 60 to 80 grams of protein, maybe. So you can really even split that up as well. So now 6 chicken breasts, I've got 12 meals technically, and you can do exactly what Devin does, and you can freeze that as well. Yeah, I guess that's like how I've kind of managed it. I love my breakfast. My breakfast kind of revolves around 2 kind of different meals. It's usually heaps of poached eggs. Like I'll have 5, 6 poached eggs on like 2 bits of like nice like proper sourdough, with some like kimchi and some salad and some fruit with that. Or I generally make like protein pancakes, and that's pretty legit as well. But that's kind of how I've kind of prepped, and I feel like having those kind of foods, especially like the protein pancakes, my partner and myself, we eat mostly organic. We try and eat mostly organic. And something that you said, Nick, like you had like dry skin and stuff like that. I had dandruff for like my whole life, and when I made the switch to organic, the dandruff stopped. Like I don't know, like I had eczema as well, like eczema. I had a lot of skin conditions and stuff like that. And as soon as I made that switch, all of it went. So
Wow.
I don't know, like maybe it's experimentation. There's that stigma though, organic food is more expensive. Well, there's 2 parts with that. Depending on where you live around the world, is obviously that's dependent, of course. So there's some places in Australia that are really good for organic food, especially like I don't live there anymore, but down in Melbourne, probably I don't know, probably one of the best places to get organic food in the country. It's cheap, it's not overpriced, all that. The second part is it's overpriced a little bit because governments tend to take advantage of that, even though it costs less to manufacture and produce. But I think when you look at your diet, it's kind of like I'll spend as much money as I can, like, to be honest, like, and when you spend that extra, I'm not too sure in US dollars, but I think overall, if I spent, let's say I spent $300 for the week, I think I would spend an extra $150 on organic produce. So I'm not too sure how much that is in like US. I think New Zealand dollars might be kind of similar, but yeah, I don't know. That's a few things, and I think that mindful eating too. Like when you're eating, like something I love is like cutting the oranges. The oranges came from the tree, and I'm like, I bite into it and I taste it, and it's like that written, that sweetness that you have from the orange. And these are kept in the fridge, mind you. I put the oranges in the fridge. But there's something about this eating organic food, and I really try and do this. I don't want to call it mindful eating because it's really that's what it is. It's like you're eating the food from the ground, and the sense of gratitude of eating good quality food makes me never want to eat any bad shit anymore. Like I love a pizza for sure. Sometimes I'll get a pizza once a week or something like that. But like other than that, man, I love my fruit and vegetables. I love good quality. We eat a lot of kangaroo here. I'm not too sure if you guys have ever had. I think kangaroo might be one of the best low fat and high protein meats out there. So if you can get your hands on some Bambi, something like that, definitely recommend it. But yeah, I guess that's just a little insight with diet. And I think we can use this as we're talking about it, we can use this as accountability as well. Like we'll take photos of foods. I'll definitely take more photos of my foods that I ate, and I'll post it to the group chat this week. So we just keep that little bit of accountability going on.
So
It's
you want me
funny
to
that
send a photo of the carrot cake, eh? You want to see the carrot
Yeah,
cake?
can you send that? Yeah, and any cake we always send as well. That's a must. That's a rule.
That's funny that you when I got on the call, y'all were talking about, I didn't get to hear it, but y'all said something about ATG for chefs, and now here we are talking about food.
It's because I was making a carrot cake, bro, and
Right.
and Ethan said he'd given me a follow on Instagram, and he was like, "Man, you're not bad in the kitchen, bro," and that's what led to that. And actually, I was just gonna say, like, I wanted to say it before. It's like, you know, you were asking how everyone's going. I felt the impact in the first few days of this week of missing the call last week, you know, and
Really?
I can feel for myself right now, just being in this call, like I can feel like, oh, I got to win. I've got, you know, like I did a Zoom session with a client before, and then now being on this call, just that connection thing, just like taking on board what you guys are saying, this topic, you know, it's relevant in the better athlete sense, like, okay, like it's making me, as I'm hearing you guys talk and having to share about how I do meal prep, it's like, oh, where can I improve? It's that awareness piece. But yeah, comment on that.
I love this. I think this accountability and as what Devin said, kind of like when we're talking about what we do, it's like, fuck, what can I do better when I'm talking about food? You know what I mean? I think I could definitely, I guess we're going down the rabbit hole now. What can we do better with our food this week and moving forward from this call? Before we jump into like another conversation, I want to jump in. I think for me, what can I do better? I could tell you, I could definitely have more variety in my diet for sure. I could definitely have a lot more different fruits and vegetables. I tend to be that chicken, you know, broccoli, rice kind of guy, and I can eat that every day and not get sick of it, which it's not a bad thing to have, but definitely I think benefiting having more range of different fruits and vegetables. And I think it would only benefit my partner's always telling me he should eat more variety because I'm just a bro. Yeah, I'm just a bro. You know what I mean? I love my chicken rice. So I think moving forward from this call, I'm definitely gonna create more variety in the foods I eat, and I'll definitely send them in the group chat for sure.
I want to see some crocodile. I love, you were saying about kangaroo, like when I'm in Aussie, like I like crocodile, man. Like, yes, kangaroos are quite like venison to me, and the crocodile, damn, that's good. Ethan's like, nah.
That is
to us
not,
Americans, yeah,
that is not
that's
enough.
crazy. I don't know about Nick. I've never met anyone that's eaten either of those.
So I've had like kangaroo jerky, but that's about it. And then when it comes to crocodile, we have like gator bites, but they're like little fried things. You don't know if it's actually gator, like stuff like that. But I would love to try both of those, honestly. Snake, I want to try snake. I want to try everything out there, man. What do you guys feel about red meat? Do you guys feel like red meat has health issues, or
Red meat?
yeah, like eating too much red meat, do you think is bad?
I don't think I'm educated enough to give you a really educated opinion on it, but I do think there's definitely actually, even Devin, the quality of meat that you get.
Oh, for sure.
You go like buy a steak from, I don't know, what's the local supermarkets that you have everywhere in America? We have
Walmart,
okay.
Kroger, stuff like that.
Okay, so let's say you go to Walmart and you get a piece of steak, right? And then you go to organic butchers and get the steak. What's going to be better for you? Well, it's probably going to be the one you get from the butchers, the organic butchers, right? And I feel shit when I eat red meat. Yeah, but you just ate the dog's breakfast of steak cuts. And it's kind of like, it's like steroids and all that kind of stuff. Everyone gives steroids a bad rap, but it's only usually the bodybuilders that made steroids bad because they get hooked on it. And it's kind of like the bad quality steak definitely makes red meat as a bad thing to eat. But I've definitely worked with some clients, man, and they just work better with fucking having a vegetarian diet. Like I mean, I like I said, I'm not educated. I'm definitely not a nutrition coach by any means, but I think it's a trial of experimentation and seeing like, do you feel better? How's your energy levels? And then from there you can sort of, I guess, determine on what kind of diet kind of works best for you, I guess. What do you guys think on the red meat, since we're still going deep in this rabbit hole? I love it.
What you got, Devin?
Look, I find, I've experimented a little bit with like not eating it, and then be it placebo, like I just get to this point and I'm like, I need some steak, and then I eat it, and it's like, I don't know whether my iron levels were at some kind of micronutrient level was out. I just feel better for it, man. Like I feel better, and then I perform. On the other side of the spectrum, I find that I can use carbs well, but I need to be strategic about the type of carbs I consume and the timing of those carbs. Like if I go and eat white bread, which is like full of sugar, like I'm not getting that. Like bread in general, I don't do that well on. But then if I have sourdough or something, I find I don't get the same adverse effect. So I and also like different. I just try, actually, as a principle, I try to really listen to my body in terms of like, if I eat something and within some kind of window I'm not feeling too good, like maybe there's a causal link. And again, I'm not a nutritionist, but then like when I eliminate that thing, I don't have this, and then I put it back in. Oh, okay, there's a causal link. But you know, I recall a podcast at one stage where Paul Check was talking. He's like, you know, he's done carnivore, and then at a different time he's felt like he needed to just eat plants, and like, you know, like when Game Changers came out, I tried doing that and I felt good for a little bit and I didn't feel so good, you know. So like swings and roundabouts, you know. There's I like to quote sometimes, everything in moderation, even moderation, like, you know, to the point that Lockie was talking about. Like, man, like if you abuse anything, like if you're gonna abuse the use of steroids, it's probably gonna have some adverse effects, you know. Like if you eat too many oranges, you're probably going to have some adverse effects. Like too much of anything is not good. We're not designed to have too much of anything. Like case in point, over specialization of sports is not good for you either. You know, like there's GPP exists for a reason. So I don't know. That's a bit of yeah.
That's great.
So
if you've never listened to, I encourage you to go and listen to Pavel Tapsulin's podcast with Joe Rogan, you know, and there he like says, oh no, I feel sorry for the nutritionist. It's like strength training, and the principles of strength training came out of the Soviet Union. You know, it's pretty like tried and tested percentage training, sets, reps, blah, blah, blah. It's like nutrition, there's too many variables, you know. It's so what I take from that is like, you got to, having some principles is good, but you got to tweak it to your own. Even ATG, even like no two people squat the same, you know. Like we don't split squat the same, we don't squat the same, we don't have the same stance, we don't like. So we, whatever it is, we still have to individualize it, but you can get the bell curve part quite right, you know. So
yeah, I agree definitely that it's based on the individual, and that I think some people are more accustomed to, and some people do better on certain diets, and I'm not sure if that's just because of their gut health and where they're at with that, or if it's because of their ancestry and where they're from, but that definitely shows with some people. So the reason I asked is that it was actually kind of a loaded question. I have a strong opinion about this actually. So there, I don't know about there, but here in America, red meat is definitely vilified, and they try to say that it's horrible for you and to limit it. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that recent thing from the UN saying that we should only eat 14 grams of meat per week, but that's wild. But I've done a lot of research on this and looked at the studies and stuff like that. So, and everything that I've seen has said that it's not going to have any adverse effects. But like you said, everything in moderation. And I eat mostly red meat, and I personally do really well on that kind of diet. I feel really good on the mats. I feel energized, and my rash goes away. So that's just me.
Yeah, if I can chime in, I'd say, so I've been experimenting the past 3 weeks. I've had red meat almost every day, and that's something I would not have ever normally done. Growing up in my household, it was like once a week we eat red meat. That's it. And if you eat any more, it's bad for you. And thinking about it, I almost can think of it like, I don't know if it's the same in Australia, but in the US, the red meat thing is like the knees over toes thing, where people say, don't squat, knees over toes, don't eat too much red meat. So that's why I love finding this stuff within the ATG community, because people aren't afraid to go against the grain and be like, wait, why is that something that we share all the time of don't eat too much red meat? I mean, just the other day, I went to my doctor to get an x-ray on my ACL recovery to see my progress. And I'm talking to the surgeon, blah, blah. And as I'm heading out, he's like, so how's your rehab going? Is everything going well? I'm like, yeah, everything's going great. He goes, great. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just make sure when you're squatting, your knees don't go over your toes. And I didn't say anything, but in my head, I'm like, I'm dying. Like, this guy, it's a Stanford doctor. He's a world-renowned surgeon, and he's telling me not to squat knees over toes. And he probably tells that to all of his patients. And it killed me inside. And it's like, I don't know, we got to question that kind of stuff, because I think a lot of it's just stuff we learned 10, 15, 20 years ago in textbooks, and everything's changing so rapidly. So I think we could be some of the people that help change the stigmas, I guess.
The question that comes up for me when I hear something like what you said, Nick, is like, who benefits from that propaganda? I'm use that propaganda, you know. And I just sent each of you something on Instagram, and I'm going to read it here. And it's here's how to design a country that spends $3.8 trillion on healthcare. And the playbook is provided by the United States. 1, allow drug companies to charge 2 to 3 times more for drugs than any other country. 2, create a healthcare system that focuses on disease treatment and keeping people alive rather than achieving optimal health. 3, teach doctors to convince people that diet and lifestyle don't play a role because there is no science. 4, give people unlimited access to highly processed foods everywhere and have the government subsidize these foods. And 5, create a diet industry that teaches people the only reason nutrition matters is for weight loss. One of the most harmful things that's happened in the development of the world is commercialization, and that's commercialization of everything. Now, you know, like, we could sit here and argue that we're in the camp of positive commercialization, you know, but like money's changed the game across the board, you know. Like, man, like Pfizer just made 33.5 billion in the first quarter from a vaccine, you know, like $33.5 billion. So, you know, it's like, I'm not saying that I have the answer, but I'm saying like questioning things doesn't mean you're a conspiracy theorist. It means that you're thinking for yourself, and like, that's how you're meant to think. You're a free thinking, free moving like individual. Yes,
but that's weird. That's out of the ordinary for most people.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that, you know, like, maybe someone benefits from saying that like you should only have 14 grams of meat each week, because what then is being marketed and promoted as the alternative, and who gets the tax credit kickbacks from that, you know? Because like a lot of what I'm seeing in the world right now is like, man, a lot of like, for better or for worse, people benefiting from like the state of the world right now, you know? And individuals like Keegan and like Ben, perfect example. He wants less people to go for knee surgery. Now, case in point, right now, I have a ruptured ACL. I could go for knee surgery. Like, it's quite likely it's going to get approved by ACC, which is a New Zealand body that will cover the cost of my surgery. And all I have to do is say yes. And then the anesthetist, the nurses, the surgeon, like, they all get paid. I'm grateful that the surgeon I'm working with, he's not forcing me to get surgery. He's not saying surgery is my only option. He's like, these are your options, and surgery is one of them. We're going to put the funding through. We're going to look to get that approved, and then you have up to a year to elect to have the surgery, right?
Wow.
But you know, a lot of the individuals that Ben is talking about in a different healthcare system, like, and like Ethan, you know, you were touching on it earlier, like, maybe you wouldn't have if you had been presented with different options. So that same, what I'm suggesting is that same principle applies in every other sector. Like, what are you not being told? What research do you have to do on your own? What questions could you be asking? What questions should you be asking? What should they be telling you? You know, like, yeah. I think that was a passionate rant.
Yeah. And one theory I've heard on people who will benefit from it are actually all the plant-based manufacturers. Plant-based, they use mostly soy or even bugs. From what I've been hearing, it's crazy, but that stuff is really cheap to produce, and so they have a really large profit margin on that kind of stuff. So that's one theory that I've had, that they're really pushing that and trying to tell people that meat is bad because it's expensive to make, you know? So that's my theory on that. And then you talked about drugs and pharmaceuticals. And I wanted to point out that I realized this the other day. I think New Zealand and the United States are the only places that are allowed to have commercials for drugs, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Do they have them in Australia?
What kind of drugs are we talking about?
Yeah, no, you're right, Nick. Because I've seen a documentary about this. You know, like I was talking about, do you have fidgeting foot syndrome? And it's like basically they're gonna prescribe you. They're gonna prescribe give you a prescription for Adderall or Ritalin. You know, which is a gateway drug to, because one of the things is like basically the argument this documentary was presenting is that like whether you've got agitated foot syndrome or you're a student who needs to focus better for your high school exams or whatever, once you're in like you're in the system, you know, like you got a prescription, you want to repeat prescription, like, you know, and then no, I heard that. No, we New Zealand, you can't advertise alcohol, you can't advertise tobacco, and you can't advertise you can't advertise you can advertise alcohol, but only on certain platforms, and you can't and generally available like medications like Nurofen, which is like paracetamol or ibuprofen, yes, but you can't advertise for like a prescription medication on mainstream or Instagram or you can't do that here.
Yeah, it's so funny when you hear that. I don't think I think you're right. Like I've never seen any advertisement for like pharmaceutical drugs, but I tell you one thing that does get advertised in Australia is alcohol.
Wow.
Everywhere. We have I only found this the other day. Australia is the only country that has drive-through bottle shops, apparently. I don't know. Do you guys have drive-through bottle shops?
We got them.
You know what that is? Like,
so you can go drive through and
buy, and you go,
alcohol?
I want this beer, this, and like, yep, here you go. How much? Book, pay, and then off you go.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. So in some states we do have that actually.
Okay.
But a lot of states we don't. We don't in Texas.
Okay.
They don't allow it.
Texas is a bit more upper class than that. You know, right? Yeah. Alcohol is a massive issue here. It's a really bad problem, and
really,
hopefully one day, like, or hopefully have all you guys over here, and you'll see it. It's very embedded in our culture. It's advertised. Like, you watch YouTube, alcohol, TV, alcohol commercials. You go down the street, bars everywhere. It's very ingrained in conditioned in our culture. I guess I wanted to add with all this nutrition topic, it's kind of cool. This is probably like a seed down the track, but definitely creating whether it's free content or like a free ebook or something like that down the track for nutrition for grapplers as well. Like I said, none of us are like a nutrition coaches. Like, we're not trying to measure out your macros, and I can't stand that shit, right? It's just, if you can't figure out how to eat your protein properly, then, well, okay, that's another issue in itself, right? But I think if you look at everyone right now, if you go to your local gym and you talk to them, I'd be very surprised if any of them are probably eating adequate sources of protein. Like, they're eating their protein intake, and it's definitely that. Like, obviously the training principles that we're trying to create from this is definitely one part. And why are we doing this? Just for a conversation earlier, it's all about dollar figures. It's all about dollar figures, and that's why we get misled with information. But we're lucky enough, we live in countries where freedom is a choice. It's not a given. It's a choice. And so we're allowed to think that. And I think opening people's minds to, obviously to this, you know, knees over toes, like when Ethan told me that, like told us that, I was like, oh man, still, like, come on, like, it's not, we're not trying to destroy. And that's the thing Ben said before, I'm not here to say surgeries are bad. I'm just saying we don't need to go get surgeries as much. I'm not trying to destroy the industry. I'm just trying to, hey, I think there's better ways we can do it. And it's a massive, I can't remember what Devin said, but it's a massive industry, you know what I mean? It comes down to dollar figures, and the same thing comes down to nutrition. You know, I think, now this is in Australia. Now, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, of course, Australia might be the most overweight country in the world right now. 2018 was 67% of the population were either overweight or obese. That was 2018. Wow. So, and you might, again, like, you know, again, we'll eventually, I'm going to have like this massive, eventually I'll have this nice house where everyone can come and stay, and you'll be able, you walk down the streets and you're like, oh wow, everyone is kind of a little bit plump here.
Yeah. It's like that here too. I don't know if it's 68%. I think it's a little less actually, but it's a very high percentage, and I think we're not far behind. Definitely.
Yeah. I think we only just overtake you guys. So that's a great win. Yay. You know, finally Australia's doing something great. But yeah, and as not to go too much off topic, but if you go to the gyms, none of them are probably eating properly too. Like I'd be very shocked to see if you ask 10 people and you asked them if you really looked at what they eat. Man, I could tell you right now, the old gym that I trained at Absolute MMA with Lockie Giles and all that, dude, not 20% of them would probably eat properly. It's probably that we can use that 80-20 rule, to be honest. 80% of people who you train with don't eat properly. And again, could be just a seed or something down the track. But, you know, when I was talking to Keegan, I think it was last week or the week before, whatever it was, you know, really looking at ways where we can create products or service or free valuable content to come out of these chats. And I think right now we're really just focusing on our businesses right now. But I think as we grow as people, naturally the business is going to follow. And as we keep building this up, then we can start looking at other avenues, products or services, or just free content, or even part of the packages. You know what I mean? Part of the packages is you just get a little bit education on basic nutrition. Like I said, we don't want to tell people how much fat you should eat and how much carbs. No, these are just the measurements. This is probably a guideline, a framework, right? If you look at the Zero program, dense, what's the other one? Standards, zero gravity, zero loaded, whatever. I'm sure there's another one. All of them are just frameworks. They're just frameworks, and from there you can accustom to the needs and wants of the individual. And I think educating people, grapplers, about using a framework, we can create like an ATG framework for nutrition or something like that. Like I said, it's just down the track, but it's definitely something to consider with two parts. One part is we should all be able to do the standards, because I think naturally if we can do the standards, you're self-promoting yourself. And that's like, I think Nick's been really working on that hard. I'm sure Ethan has. I know Devin's still training like a monster. I'm really working at it to really fast track our progress in the standards, because I feel like as grapplers, it's more important to have those standards than anything for longevity purposes. And the fact that if you can even touch your palms to the ground as a grappler, like, dude, you're in the top fucking 1% of flexibility, to be honest. Like that's the reality of it. And I think the second standard is, and I'm really happy that we're talking about nutrition this time, because I think the standard is us to make sure that we're in the best possible shape that we can be as well. And that's going to help self-promote not only your business, you're going to feel better and all that kind of stuff, but it really is going to create that's embodiment of the ATG lifestyle. I don't know, I kind of just freestyled there, but what do you guys think about all that kind of stuff? Like really using this group chat really not only personal development and this black belt mentality, you know, on the mat, of course, but off the mat, generational freedom. But making sure we are in the best shapes that we possibly can be. Like, I want Nick, when Nick competes at the Worlds, I want him to be fucking looking jacked. Like, oh shit, look at this guy. And he's a savage on the mats too. And he's got freak like mobility and stuff like that. Already, like not going down that rabbit hole too much, but you know, already that's a psychological difference. Because if you look at most grapplers, most of them are like kind of just like undereated, calorie deficient kind of people. Or they're kind of overweight. It's usually one of the two. You don't really see them really filled up and jacked. Like, it's really rare. You only see the top athletes like that, right? So I don't know. They're just some ideas, and I think right now it's more important than ever to really focus on these things, because I tell you, in Australia right now, like, we're probably in Melbourne, we're probably this close to a civil war. Like, I'm talking this close. Like, they're like gonna the rules are crazy. Like, they're closing all shops. Only the main government supermarket can open. Only can collect online. You're only allowed 1 kilometer radius where you live. No takeaway, no Uber Eats, nothing like that. They're cutting everything. People losing their minds. Like, we're this close, and I feel. And because of this separation between, you know, pro-vaccines and not vaccines and stuff, and because social media will support the evidence that you consistently look at, right? So this bias is getting separated. And I think if you catch up on a little bit of the Keegan's group chat, you know, we're talking about what's the next really big economy crash as far as global. In this case, it's probably going to be something like this. And not that should that be a worry, but I think it's going to be a massive distraction for all of us, even if it's not happening in your own country, if it's happening somewhere else. Like, even like what's happening in Afghanistan and stuff like that. So it's like, it's just like, whatever, we can definitely have educated opinions about this, and you can read history. I definitely read a few books on it last night about the history from the 70s onwards in Afghanistan and how the Taliban took over. It's really interesting. But all that stuff, like, it's good to know, but it's going to be a distraction. So really honing on what we're talking about, embodying this lifestyle, talking about nutrition, you know, taking ourselves to the next level. I really think this is the best time, because as I was saying on the podcast, I recorded like a short recording, and I said, we're all going to be looking at this time in 10 years from now, 5 years, 3 years, whatever it is, and go, what did we do during those times when everyone was getting locked down, economy was a lot tighter, all those kind of things. We're going to be looking back, and that kind of, I'm consistently thinking about, I'm like, I want to be saying that I did everything in my power to completely reinvent myself and actually come out better than I came in from it. So I don't know if you guys want to add anything to that, but it's just something that was just on my mind, and really, yeah, trying to take ourselves to this, whatever this next level it is. Well, that's nice fun.
I love it. I definitely want to see a grappler's diet framework. I think that'd be great for people. And yeah, I love what you're saying. I feel like each call to takeaway is just that, is we need to be black belts on the mat and off the mat. I mean, we didn't talk about anything jiu-jitsu related today, really, but I still feel like I can apply it to, you know, my athletic performance. And like you were just saying, good people make great athletes. So this is huge. One thing I was thinking about is, and you know, it's different for everyone, but I think why this is so valuable for me is I'm getting a traditional, you know, sort of liberal arts education right now in the US, and I'm like pretty much in the system, you could say. And there's just so much that they don't teach you. And it's almost like they want us to be individual thinkers, but they're not promoting that at all. It's these type of conversations that are promoting that. So I'm super grateful for you guys.
Grateful for you too, bro.
Do you want me to jump in?
Yeah, go nuts, dude.
So I was just, as I was listening to you, I was thinking about other sections I've seen in ATG, things that can be adapted. So one of the first things that came up is if you go into Mighty Network and look up diet without bias, and then that second one, so the third one, which is My Equator Diet. I recalled the article from ages back. So it's like Ben Patrick's philosophy on it. But that's a good place to start in terms of nutrition stuff. There's some good reads in there. And then the other thing I was thinking about is like, and I was thinking back, I don't know if you guys know Ben Pakulski. He was like the bodybuilding yogi. Like he's got a Ben Pakulski. I think he was the bodybuilding yogi, but now he's got a different name. Muscle Intelligence Podcast, I think it is. Anyway, I recall a podcast he did with, I think it's a guy, Phil Lerney. Anyway, the principle of it was that like they were having this debate about like diet first, and the other guy was like, no, sleep first. And then I would actually go breath first, because you can go weeks without food, days without water, but only minutes without breathing. And so if you teach people the breath work piece first, if people become more aware of their breathing, that's going to totally change, because like the filtration system of the nose, the nitric oxide and that's going to totally change your metabolic response too, because like the fuel and energy demands, because if you're over oxygenating and like over consuming oxygen, like you're going to probably like need more fuel because you're like working way too hard. So proposing the idea or the principle that like breath work might be the first place to start, and then that would lead to better sleep, and then that would lead to better food choices in terms of a hierarchy. And then I'm also going to throw in the mix here the Fight Science podcast. He's known as the Fight Dietitian on Instagram. Give him a follow. He works with the City Kickboxing guys in terms of their the combat athlete diet side of things. He's got great content. So the Fight Science podcast, the Fight Dietitian on Instagram.
What's that called again?
So the Fight Science podcast.
Fight Science.
Yeah, Fight Science podcast. And he's got great podcasts.
What was the Instagram?
His Instagram is the Fight Dietitian.
Just put it in the chat.
Ethan just put it in the chat.
Nice.
I mean, second to me. I haven't listened to that one yet. He said why breathing is 99% of your performance with Dave Wood. Dave Wood is a guy I did a workshop with here in NZ. He had me in the pool, like doing weighted carries on the bottom of the pool, and just in a 90-minute workshop with him, it changed my whole like mind space around breathing. Really? So in summary, I'm proposing the principle that breath is first, sleep is second, and then that will lead to better nutritional choices, and then in alignment with the better human, better athlete thing. Because if you get the breathing down, you get the sleep down, and then you get the nutrition, then you go train. Fuck, you're a beast. Like fuck supplements, like fuck all of that. Like now you're not worrying about 1%, you're taking care of like the 90%. Okay, so breath work, because the body doesn't differentiate between like whether you're breathing hard because of stress, whether you're breathing hard because of stress due to training, like you're breathing hard because your partner yelled at you. Like it's all just it's breath in, breath out, and it impacts the system. The sleep, like we know that's the number one recovery tool, and then nutrition is what is fueling the performance. Then I'm encouraging us to go and look at that section, diet without bias. There looks like there is 7 lessons in there. Maybe that's where. And I also just jumped into the ATG Coaches Advantage, because everything's been reorganized. And the ATG Coaches Advantage, if you go into holistic performance factors, there's the one. So I think what I'm encouraging is we each go and look at some of the content that already exists, you know, in terms of the breath and the nutrition space on the ATG platform, and we come in next Sunday and then in line with what you're saying, Lockie, is like align that with what we're talking about driving the grapplers thing towards. You know, I mean, like, and in alignment with something I touched on earlier, I think Nick, in terms of your like the event you have coming up, man, if we can like start driving some breath work daily, you know, like you've got so much time between now and when you compete that like if we can slow your breathing down, we can make you more efficient, like that just instantly transfers to better conditioning, better performance on the mat. Because calm, flow state, alter ego, that's what it was said to me about like peak performance and competition. And calm is breath, bro, managing the breath. I don't know where that came from. That was good.
That was good. Yeah, man. Oh, man. Stop the mic.
I think about that what's that scene in Old School, was it, where Will Ferrell and he's, what happened? I blacked out, man. I blacked out. What happened? And actually something else I wanted to say just to round up, like I don't know if you ever looked at something called Worldometer. It's like real-time statistics, and according to the Worldometer, there has been 1.6 million deaths worldwide caused by alcohol. There's been 3.2 million caused by smoking. Now, interesting on that is the combined death toll there is more than the deaths by coronavirus worldwide, and that's this year. So coronavirus is coming up to a 2-year span. So the combined deaths caused by alcohol and smoking is greater than the deaths caused by coronavirus. So in closing, everything in that exists has a mortality rate, right? Everything we produce has a mortality rate, and there is acceptable mortality rate levels, clearly, because of smoking and alcohol deaths, and then there's unacceptable levels. And the number one thing that keeps everything in perspective for us is, well, for me, we as humans have 100% mortality rate, that you are not making it out of here alive. So what you choose to do with the time, that's your choice, you know, like you ain't getting out of this alive, you know. But your soul might, but this physical meat suit, it ain't getting out. So, you know, like I choose to enjoy these Sundays with you. This has been an awesome philosophical chat and a good rabbit hole. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And on to add to that, breathing, I actually went down a deep rabbit hole when Keegan started talking about the Buteyko method. So that's definitely a resource you guys should check out. Patrick McCown, I think his YouTube is The Oxygen Advantage, and the Buteyko method is definitely something that's helped me a lot.
Again, but if you look at the screen, so in that ATG Coach's Advantage, if you go into holistic performance factors and then you click on breath, that rabbit hole that he went down, it's all there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's all like it's all been summarized quite nicely there. That's the Buteyko method there. So yeah, there we go.
Nice, good idea.
Fuck, dude, this has been great. I
don't know if we got.
Sorry, after you.
Did we get to any of the stuff you had planned, Lockie?
No, to be honest, man, this has been great. Like this has been awesome. Like I said, like we can keep jumping onto those notes, but I think I just wanted to keep expanding on the shit that we're doing and keep creating this, you know, keep expanding, and what we'll find is these products and services that we're gonna start be able to finally create. But like I tell you what, as I've said this every single time, like I'm always buzzed after these conversations. It's always a pleasure to spend my Sunday morning chatting with you gentlemen. It's It's really good, and I feel like I need to hold a new level of accountability within myself, but endeavor to you guys as well. So like, yeah, I'm pumped, and I'm really excited to see what the next couple of weeks happen. Like, I feel like we're really gonna try and push the envelope and get uncomfortable being uncomfortable.
Something else I'm going to add. I just did some numbers. You know, we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
So I just did a quick Google, and supposedly there's basically 3 million BJJ athletes worldwide. So that's one grappling category, right? 3 million.
Wow.
If we were to have the reach of 1% of those, it would be 30,000 athletes. And if we had 500 coaches, right? Like if there was 500 ATG for Grapplers coaches, that would be 60 clients each that we would have to manage. And if you were charging $50 per, if you were making an average of $50 per week from each of those clients, you would be bringing in $3,000 per week, which on a 52 weeks is about 150K. So, you know, like going back to where we really started, like I think there's enough. That's not. There's no wrestlers in that. There's, you know, there's the other. There's enough in this niche, you know, like, you know, I've said it before, Ben's just knees, you know, like these other bits, like, you know, like ring push-ups and ring rows and band pull-aparts is not like a deep dive into upper body. Like, it's just, he's being of service, but he's not going right in, you know, like dumbbell, like his knees. Like there's other stuff, but like, you know, he himself was his knees. So if we want to be just grappling, fuck man, 1% of free, and like those numbers are like, we're probably not going to have 500 coaches, not for a while. So you know what I mean? Like there's a market there, is what I'm saying. Like based on those numbers and breaking it down like that into that bite-sized chunk, fuck, that's digestible. You know, like I just realized on the mailing list at the BJJ club that I'm at, you know, we're in lockdown here. My workshop that I was going to do has been postponed. So instead, I'm recording content. So today I'm going to record single leg standing, eyes open, eyes closed, big toe drill to get an understanding of, yeah, you know the one. Big toe drill, water bialis, FHL calf raise is a combination. Step up on the ground and what am I doing? Oh, a glute variation, either feet on the floor or feet elevated, double leg glute bridge, because Iyengar yoga principle, they always do glute bridge variations after a single leg variation because it restores balance in the hips. So I'm doing single leg Patrick step ups the same way that is in the Zero program, paired with a glute bridge variation. And then we're going to finish off with the L-sit Zero. I'm going to put that in a document just like Torben did for the boxes, and I'm going to pump that out. We're going to put that out in an email to 284 club members. That's how many people Pedro has on the list. So like, wow. even if I got 10% of them on the workshop, that's 30 people. You know, like so bite-sized chunks. Like break it down. I'm going to send this amazing read about bite-sized chunks to the group. Think blank. You guys read that article, it'll change your whole perspective on goal setting.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, because I think that's really true. I think it's really important. We got to break down those numbers, you know what I mean? I think because when it's suddenly, when you reveal the numbers, it's like, okay, so that's all I got to do. It's not as overwhelming as it seems. I think that's really important what you've just brought up. You know what? To be honest, it's probably more than 3 million people, but you know, 1%, 1%, like, because you think of the average income of jiu-jitsu athletes, okay, but 1%, 30,000 people between how many coaches out there? Like, come on, like that's not hard. You know, we just got to really just give more value, give you know, something that I'm really working on, and I think all of us are just giving more love, more value, more free content out there. Just have everything, because there's two options. You're either going to take action from their free content and actually apply it to yourself. But most people don't have the capacity to do that. So they're going to go and pay you to tell them, actually, how do I actually do with the information you gave me?
Yeah, I love that. And hearing those numbers got me excited as well.
Yeah, you boys have inspired me. I just last night created a separate Instagram page. I didn't know what to call it, so I ended up just doing ATG Ethan, which I'm a little on the fence about because, you know, as much as I like incorporating ATG, I don't want to limit myself to just that type of training. Right. But it was more of just like symbolically getting in the headspace of I need to create a social media page and I need to start posting like Devin and Lockie do. I'm not sure if you hopped on that train yet, Nick, but even if no one's looking at it, it's like an accountability thing of just filming yourself and putting it out there. And yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I've got to change my Instagram name too as well. It's not on par, but I'm figuring that out.
You post content though, Nick? Do you post exercise or health related?
Yeah,
Nick's been killing it.
Not as much as I would like to, but yeah, I've been getting better for sure, slowly but surely.
Cool. I'm following you right now. Perfect. Oh, I love it, dude. Awesome.
All right, boys. All right. Let me put the pause on stuff.